This is the story of how the tidal stretch of the River Thames was transformed from little more than an open sewer, bringing disease and death to thousands of Londoners, into the world's cleanest metropolitan river, teeming with more than 120 species of fish and aquatic life. It's the story of how the engineering prowess of the Victorians not only transformed the health of the river, but the health of London, with cholera wiped out forever. And it's the story of how Thames Water is tackling today's challenges of climate change and population growth to keep the river clean and healthy for the 21st century, matching the ambitions of our Victorian ancestors with one of the largest civil engineering projects this country has ever seen. The tidal stretch of the River Thames, or the Thames Tideway, starts at Teddington Lock in Surrey and goes all the way out to the Thames estuary in the east. 150 years ago, the Thames was so polluted with raw sewage that Parliament had to be stopped because of the dreadful smell. The Times called the crisis the Great Stink of 1858, and it must have been pretty bad because it convinced all the MPs to give the famous engineer of the time, called Joseph Bazalgette, the go-ahead for an ambitious plan to give the city a modern sewer network. This system of sewers, called combined sewers, as they carry both sewage and rainwater, took sewage away from the city over to the East End, to be later treated at Bazalgette's massive Beckton and Crossness sewage treatment works. They still form the backbone of London's sewer network. But over the last few decades, factors like London's expanding population and the paving over of gardens and the loss of green spaces, combined with the heavy and intensive downpours we expect to get from climate change, have all put increased pressure on the Victorian sewer system. When there is a heavy rainfall, the sewers fill up very quickly. To prevent buildings and streets flooding with storm sewage, Bazalgette built overflows to discharge excess storm sewage into the tideway. However, this can affect wildlife by reducing the levels of oxygen in the water and can pose a health risk to river users, as well as leaving unsightly litter along the shoreline. On average, 32 million tonnes of storm sewage enters the tideway every year, and that's just not acceptable. As one of the world's great cities, London just cannot continue dumping untreated sewage into the Thames Tideway. In fact, an important piece of European legislation, known as the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive, sets out improved standards for wastewater treatment with which the government must comply. Thames Water is already reducing the environmental effects on the river, including bubbler boats that pump oxygen into the water, just like an aerator in a domestic fish tank, and 2 specially designed skimmer boats now operate, cleaning litter off the surface of the river. We are also investing more than £400 million on separate projects to improve London sewer treatment works and reduce discharge during heavy rainfall. But we must do more if we're going to take into account today's lifestyle and weather patterns. In March 2007, the government announced its decision to support the development of the Tideway Tunnel to reduce combined sewer overflow discharges and improve the quality of the tidal Thames. This wasn't an overnight decision, with many years of independent, detailed study leading up to this announcement. Since then, Thames Water has been working hard towards delivering this massive engineering project. The Tideway Tunnel will act as a huge storage tank, capturing millions of litres of storm sewage from 35 of the most polluting combined sewer overflows along the Thames Tideway. These can then be transferred to Beckton Sewage Treatment Works, where they can be pumped out and treated. The proposed Tideway Tunnel scheme comprises 2 separate and independent projects, the Leigh Tunnel and the Thames Tunnel. The 32-kilometre, 7-metre diameter tunnel, known as the Thames Tunnel, will run from Hammersmith in West London to Beckton in East London and will be big enough to fit 3,000 London buses end to end. The tunnel needs to avoid London's existing underground tunnels, such as other sewers, tube lines and post office tunnels, and will be as deep as 75 metres in places. Building work is expected to start 2012 with completion in 2020. The 6.9-kilometre Leigh Tunnel is being built as an independent project which will be linked to the Thames Tunnel. It is shorter and less complicated than the Thames Tunnel. Construction of this is due to start in 2009, with completion by 2014. The tunnel will be more than 7 metres wide, between 55 and 75 metres deep, and will run from Abbey Mills pumping station near the Olympic Park in Stratford to Beckton Treatment Works in the London Borough of Newham. As part of the Lee Tunnel scheme, Thames Water is proposing to extend the sewage treatment works at Beckton. This will increase its treatment capacity so more of the total flow from the whole area can be treated, as well as the stored flows from the tunnels. This means that overall flows discharged to the tidal River Thames will be treated to a higher standard. London is a world-leading capital city and deserves a river that reflects that status in the 21st century. With completion of the Tideway Tunnel, this massive engineering project will not only benefit wildlife, but anyone who enjoys the river, and will ensure that the River Thames will continue to be a source of pride and enjoyment for future generations of Londoners.